Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation for the Tacc 605 group case study. Today, we'll be discussing how Equibright Limited should account for several provisions and contingent liabilities based on the requirements of AASB 137. In this session, our group will be focusing on question 1 to 3, which cover the topics of product warranties, environmental liabilities, and pending litigations. The purpose of the presentation is to apply the guidance from AASB 137 to real-world business scenarios that Equibright Limited is facing. We aim to determine the appropriate recognition, measurement, and disclosure of provisions and contingent liabilities in their financial statements. The presentation is structured into three main parts: overall of the company background, detailed analysis for scenario 1 to 3, and then an overall summary. Before diving into the questions, here's some background about the company. Equibright Limited manufactures and distributes water filtration system and is known for its innovative and reliable products. However, the company is currently facing several events that may result in financial obligations, either through provisions or contingent liabilities. These include warranty claims, environmental cleanup costs, and potential legal damages. Our presentation will explore how to properly account for these events under relevant accounting standards. Let's look at the scenario. Equibright offers a 1-year warranty on its products. Historically, about 5% of units sold require repair or replacement, and the average cost per repair is $100. Our goal is to determine how and when a provision should be recognized in the financial statements and how to record the corresponding journal entries. According to AASB 137, a provision should be recognized only when three conditions are met. First, there must be a present obligation from a past event, in this case, the sale of the product. Second, it must be probable that an outflow of resources will be required. And third, the amount must be reliably estimated. In Equibright's case, all three conditions are satisfied, so provision for warranty costs must be recognized. The next step is measurement. AASB 137 recommends using the best estimate based on past experience and expected outcomes. Let's assume Equibright sold 10,000 units at a 5% failure rate. We expect 5 units to need repairs. Multiply that by the average repair cost is $100, and we get a total estimated provision of $50,000. This is the amount that should be recognized in the financial statement. Now, let's look at the accounting entry. At the end of the financial year, Equibright should record the following journal entries. Debit warranty expense for $50,000. This represents the expected costs. Credit provision for warranty for $50,000. This set up the liability. And this entry ensures the financial statements reflect the future obligation that arise from the current sale. So to summarize, Equibright should recognize a $50,000 provision based on historical data and expected costs. The recognition and measurement criteria on AASB 137 are clearly met. This approach ensures accurate and transparent financial reporting, reflecting the company's real obligations. And that's all for question 1, and now let's move on to question 2.
Thank you for my group members sharing. So as my part, I would like to start with an overview of environmental liabilities. In this case, because of an intentional chemical discharge, Equibright is likely need to undertake a cleaner operation costing around 50,000 to avoid the legal penalty. So to start with question A, I think the first important part I need to is to figure out the definition of provisions. A provision is a liability of an uncertain timing or of amount, and the liability is a present obligation of the entities arising from the past events, the settlement of which is said to result in an outflow from the entity of resource and bordering economic benefits. Or obligation events is an event that creates a legal or constructive obligation that results in an entity having no realistic alternative to settle that obligations. A legal obligation is an obligation that derives from a contract or legislations. So, as how to recognize the provision in this case, the first one of we need to focus is the past event. The past events make the alcohol rights have the present obligations. In this case, it will be the intentional or chemical discharge, definitely. And then comes with the a probable that outflow of resource and borrowing economic benefits will be required to set up application. So in this case, the company will make like to undertake a cleaner application costing around 50,000 to prevent penalties. And a reliable estimate can be made of the amount of the application. Is the cleaning application costing, maybe it is around 50,000. And so the company must recognize a provision in a financial statement for an environmental or cleanup cost of 50,000. This is because all three recognition criteria are satisfied. Then we come to the part B of question 2. The best estimate of a provision is the amount that entity will originally paid to settle the application at the end of the reporting period. So for this company, the following factors should be considered. The first, in total, I think we will have six factors to be considered. The first one is the natural or an extent of contamination. I think like for this company, the site-specific assessments must be done to understand the scale of clean required. And then we come to the legal and regulatory requirements. Maybe we need to assess the applicable environmental laws, penalty for non-compliance, and the required standards of remediation. This need to be think of before. And then the third, it is cost estimate for expert or contractor. We can ask for the advice for the second part evaluations because they are professional. I think they maybe how we find the estimate of the 50,000. And then we count to the probability and the timing of offer. Even the obligation is probable, the timing when cost will be include affected provisions. So the future and then it comes to the risk and the uncertainty. The provision should incorporate a risk adjustment, even if there are a significant uncertainty about cost, methods, and timing. So the future event is the last factor we need to think of. The potential change in technology or methods may reduce the amount, but that's all of my part. And then my group member will be discuss the question 3. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I will be explaining questions 3A and 3B, which related to the pending litigation faced by Albright Ltd. So in this case, Albright is being sued by the competitor for alleged patent infringement. The company's legal advisor estimates a 30% chance of losing, and the potential damages could be $20,000. According to ASB 137 provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent assets, a provision should only be recognized if there is a present obligation and outflow of resources is probable, and the amount can be reliably estimated. Although the amount is estimatable, the obligation is not certain. With 30% chance of loss suggests a possible but not probably outflow. Therefore, this case does not meet the recognition criteria for the provision, but instead it should be treated as a contingent liability and disclosed in the notes to the financial statements. Probably plays a critical role in deciding whether to recognize or disclose liability. Okay, so hello everyone. I will be explaining question 3A and 3B, which related to the pending litigation faced by Albright Ltd. In this case, Albright is being sued by the competitor for alleged patent infringement. The company's legal advisor estimates a 30% chance of losing, and the potential damages could be $20,000. According to ASB 137 provisions, contingent liabilities, and contingent assets, a provision should only be recognized if there is a present obligation and outflow of resources is probable, and the amount can be reliably estimated. Although the amount is estimable, the obligation is not certain. The 60% chance of loss suggests a possible but not probable outflow. Therefore, this case does not meet the recognition criteria for the provision, but instead it should be treated as a contingent liability and disclosed in the notes to the financial statement. Probability plays a critical in deciding whether to recognize or disclose a liability. If the chance of loss is less than 50%, disclosure is not required. If it's between 50% and 75%, like in this case, it should be disclosed as contingent liability. If the chance is very high, say about 80%, and the obligation is clear, then the company should recognize the provision. Albright must continue to monitor the legal process and revise the accounting treatment accordingly. To conclude, the Albright Ltd case demonstrates how the companies must apply ASB 137 to assets and account for potential liabilities. Among the three issues we analyzed, product varieties meet all criteria and should be recognized as provision. Environmental remediation is a present obligation and should also be recognized. pending litigation. However, it's uncertain and should be disclosed as a contingent liability. Such default judgment improve the transparency and reliability of financial reporting. So that's all of presentation. Thank you for the listening.